Welcome back, everybody. It's the Omniverse Comics Guide. I'm your host, Eric Anthony. He's your host,
Cha-Cha Merengue.
You see his name, you know who he is.
You just can't say it.
Everybody. You can't say it. I can't say it right. Welcome back, everybody watching on Twitch, those that watch on YouTube, listen on Spotify, Apple. Please remember to hit that subscribe button as we begin the show. And don't forget, that's right, hit the subscribe button. Did I say? Yeah, hit the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up.
Sorry, ignore my face. I was reading comments again already.
Oh, I thought, like, what did I say? We're supposed to hit the subscribe button.
Hit the subscribe button.
Okay.
Hit it.
Hit it. And don't forget to visit omniversecomics.guide where all the real magic exists and happens, right? We got reading orders, we've got reviews, we've got podcasts, videos, and all sorts of folks are contributing to the site as well. So shout out to everybody who's doing that. Thank you so much. There's a long list of people. So go to the omniversecomics.guide. Dave, what are we talking about today?
Okay, so today we are going to be celebrating another creator. So last time we did John Romita Jr. to talk about one of our favorite artists and 10 recommended stories from him. This time around, we're going to be doing a writer, and it's a Mr. Brian Michael Bendis, the creator of Miles Morales, among others. He's created a lot of characters. But
yes,
at the moment, the spotlight's on Miles Morales with the release of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I think I haven't seen it yet.
Have you seen it? You haven't seen it. You just said that. Okay. Neither have I.
No?
I was going to ask you first thing. No, I have tickets this Wednesday.
Oh, you do?
I do. 6:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
See you there.
It's on. It's on. Yes. No, I can't wait because everybody is. I haven't heard a bad thing about it.
I've heard
which is
one
rare.
person say, "Oh, well, that was on the." I can go into this a bit later, but yeah, I've literally heard one person who knows someone who said they weren't that keen. That's it. That's the only thing.
Were they comic book fans?
Yes.
And they didn't say why.
No. Ooh.
Did you enjoy the first one?
I did, and I think I saw some of it again at the weekend. My youngest wanted to watch it, and then she kind of wandered off in the middle and went, "Nah, you're right." But I was really getting into it again. Like, I forgot how impactful the Peter Parker bit is at the beginning.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, so, and there are some really cool redesigns for characters like the Scorpion and stuff. So, like, I think there'll be some interesting. One of the things I'm looking forward to is the character redesigns, like the multiverse versions. It'd be good to see, like, because Ben Reilly looks like he's gonna be showing up, but like in some form, maybe. But it's the others. It's like, oh, what can you do? Because like where it's a different medium, you can do so many different things. So like the way they did the Scorpion last time was so cool, and I've never been a big fan of the Scorpion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, he's okay.
Yeah,
but if it's done again, it's a character if it's done right, as I'm sure we might talk about in some of these picks today for our episode. He can be made to be any character can be made to be pretty interesting. But yes, the design of him in the movies and in the Spider-Verse movies and Miles Morales, like it's a really nice thing that I know we differ on the MCU version of the Spider-Verse, but it's cool that Spider-Man is getting its propers with all of the reboots and all of the restarts and recast and yada yada yada, right? It's cool to see this movie really getting all of its praise and acclaim that the character deserves because it's got a rich comic book history and so much great things to pull from.
Yeah. It looks like it really just it relishes the connections to the comics as well. Whereas I think like the MCU versions these days seem to kind of distance themselves more.
Yes. And I think it's fair to say, and if someone wants to chime in on the chats, that Brian Michael Bendis, Dan Slott, Peter David have a lot to do with this Spider-Verse kind of thing coming together and working the way it was. Mm-hmm. Like they really laid down the foundation for a lot of what we're getting in pop culture and multimedia now. Either their creations or their stories that bring all of this together. They made it happen in a lot of ways. So
yeah,
Give them their kudos, right? Got to give them their kudos.
Uh-huh. I never get that
That's
word
what
right,
this is
so
all.
I'm glad you said it and not me.
How would you say it?
I always say
Kudos.
kudos. No.
Kudos.
No, people say it's kudos, and I say kudos, actually, yeah. If you
so
know
you
how to
just
pronounce it, please say so in the comments.
We're depending on them to tell us everything we need to know about life at this point.
Yeah.
Teach us how to speak,
pronunciation, how to make a cup of tea, what the weather's like. Oh, you're right. Do you want another towel?
The way you said cup of tea.
I was trying to be English in a different way. Dude, don't die. It's not worth doing that on it. We probably get good views, but
yeah, everyone, it would go viral. That's for sure. Yeah. Comic nerd dies on podcast over a cup of tea.
Other nerd edits and shares for YouTube audience. Brackets bastard.
Well, I was going to say we should flip a coin for this one, but I think you were the gentleman and let me go first last time. So I think it's your turn.
I think to be fair, I think we kind of segue nicely into this one. So talking about the roots of Spider-Verse, in many ways, even though there's been multiple multiversal universe, multiple multiversal versions of Spider-Man over the years, and that's been going on since forever, basically. But one of the most notable ones, of course, goes back to like What If in the 70s. But Marvel seriously diverged in a big way in 2000 when they launched the Ultimate Universe. And the first title to be launched was Ultimate Spider-Man, soon followed by Ultimate X-Men. But there is the oversized hardcover. And my first pick tonight is the second story arc from Ultimate Spider-Man, which admittedly may not be like the greatest Ultimate Spider-Man story, but it was the one that hooked me. So we talked about one of them recently because they've had versions of like ultimate versions of Venom. So like the Ultimate Universe was essentially a modernization of the Marvel Universe in much the way that the films essentially have become. But they were a way of kind of worrying less about the continuity, giving people a fresh start, not having characters talk like they're from the 60s when you read old school stories, which are quite sweet, and not to knock them, but you give those to a kid and Mary Jane's dancing around to records in her living room, it looks a bit weird. So this was a way to just freshen it up. So the Green Goblin was the first villain. I wasn't sold on his look, to be honest.
No.
But the second villain was the Kingpin. So it went straight into that street level villain thing. That I mean, like, because Spider-Man goes everywhere. Like from appearances in Ultimate Marvel Team Up, Spectacular Spider-Man, all these other titles from over the decades before this, he'd bounce around to outer space, he'd go to other dimensions, he'd fight people on the street, he'd team up with the Avengers, he'd go through time. He's literally done it all. So they had the big villain, the big origin, and then they kept it street level as he basically tries to find the person responsible for the loss of his uncle, essentially. But the selling point for me, I will kind of get right to the point for this, because like the selling point for this for me was the face-off with the Kingpin. And I do not want to spoil it, but I actually saw this recently in a Facebook post, and I was so glad someone shared it, because the moment when he confronts the Kingpin is perfect. It's perfect. To me, that's Spider-Man. And it's not something they've done before in the mainstream Marvel universe. And it was the moment that made me go, this is essentially my Spider-Man now. So, yeah. The storyline is called Learning Curve. It's issues 8 to 12 of Ultimate Spider-Man. So that's volume 1 of Ultimate Spider-Man. And it's written by Bendis, of course, art by Mark Bagley. And I love it. If you did try Ultimate Spider-Man, you read the first arc and you weren't sure, give the second a go. Because it could swing it. It should swing it for you. No pun intended, mate.
No, we intend that pun.
Intend that pun.
Good pick. Very, very close to what my first pick was going to be. And I'm just like, he went right for it. But what I was saying before we started recording for the podcast part, I was saying that you have definitely read a lot more Brian Michael Bendis than I have. I have so many blind spots in his bibliography,
Uh-huh.
and I've read a lot of Brian Michael Bendis. That's how much he's done.
There is a lot, yeah.
There's a lot, but I haven't, truth be told, I haven't read Alias, which I'm like, yeah, how could you? I own them.
You do?
I do.
Oh.
I have the whole set, and I haven't read it yet.
Oh.
I haven't finished his Daredevil run. Like, there's a lot of spots for me where I'm like, I own the books. Like, read them.
Yeah.
So I've read all of the Spider-Man, both the Miles, both the Peter Parker. Like you said, it became my Spider-Man as well. So, but you're going to be the man that's going to bring us across the spectrum of Brian Michael Bendis stuff. No pressure. But I'm going to steal a big one right off the hop. It's going to steal a big one.
Okay.
Just more out of desperation to make sure that, because to make sure that, like, I recommend good stuff for folks to read.
Cool.
And I'm going to go with the Daredevil that I have read. And that's not the first portion with David Mack, but the first storyline, Underboss.
Okay.
Which is, great way to pick up still Marvel Knights at the time.
Yeah.
That began with Kevin Smith and Joe Quesada kind of getting a fresh coat of paint on the character. And then down the line, Bendis takes over and really takes over. Brings it back to like that.
So does.
Frank Miller. He takes what Frank Miller kind of did and does the Ultimate Spider-Man treatment, modernizes it into the 2000s. And uses what he built, doesn't reinvent the wheel, but really uses the vehicle of the Daredevil universe to like perfection. And with the Underboss storyline, it's a lot of payoff for people who are familiar with the characters involved. I don't want to give anything away, but it's essentially the Julius Caesar moment in a major villain's life. Yeah. I mean, everyone should know what's so funny.
I don't know. It's just, I don't want to give anything away.
I don't want to give away
cool.
who it's about, right? But
yeah.
that's the essential for those who know the myth of Julius Caesar, right? Like, who wouldn't want to read that in a comic book format that you take very seriously as you're reading it? You almost forget, like, this is the Marvel universe we're in.
Yeah, it wasn't like even a mature reader's book, but it felt like a mature reader's book.
Yes. And the feeling that the television show, if anyone has liked the Netflix Daredevil, a lot of that texture and tone comes from I think a lot of Bendis stuff. Bendis and Miller, pretty much. But all the classic DD characters are here. There's a lot to enjoy. There's villains galore. A lot of callbacks to, some Bronze Age silly style villains that you take very seriously now in the way that Bendis writes them, much in the way that you reference the Scorpion and how, some villains are just silly, but when the right writer is able to tell their story that they've kind of been sitting on and do things with characters that haven't been either done before, but also extrapolate from what's already set in motion, like that relationship that Matt Murdock has with his enemies is so interesting. It's such an interesting life he lives.
Yeah. And
this thing is full of like that intrigue and noir sort of detective work, but also very much that a lot of that courtroom drama, mafia style drama. It's got it all.
Yeah. It's a great opener. And like I'm really glad you picked it actually, because like I didn't want to pick that storyline for myself. But I'm glad you did, because like, I loved that storyline so much. Like I've read it so many times, and it's one of those things that Bendis has done quite a lot since, where he kind of jumps around in time, and you're sort of pulp fictioning it a little bit, and you're filling in the gaps.
Yes.
But he handles it so well in this, as you piece together new characters and who they are and how we got from one place to another, and it gives you that kind of moment, and then the end of the arc is just. It's so good. It sets everything up for the rest of his run and beyond. It's just it's a vital piece of Daredevil history. And the thing is, when people slate Bendis for his writing style, which I don't really get, I guess like it doesn't work necessarily on everything, but it really works on this. The dialogue is, for me, pitch perfect. Like, it's so good. The art style, Alex Maleev's art as well, is perfect for this.
I mean, what he's doing at this time, I think he's doing Ultimate Spider-Man and this simultaneously, right? Am I right? Remember,
he was doing absolutely. I think at some point then he also took over New Avengers during this. So this is when he was really like he was doing a mainstream team book, a crime-fueled solo book, and a super colorful superhero book from Fresh.
And the casting for the artists was always
it's always
spot on. Right?
Yeah.
So it really is the collaborative effort with comics, right? Like Bendis and Bagley on Spider-Man is perfect. Maleev and Bendis on Daredevil. And then all the different people he was working with on the Avengers, right? I'm sure it might get mentioned at some point here, but yeah, he is properly teamed up with all of those titles. And Maleev and Bendis here. Like, for those wondering where they could read it, if you don't know, you can get it in this trade paperback, The Ultimate Collection Daredevil, Volume 1. That's where the stories feature. That's what the cover looks like. This collects issues 16 to 19, 26 to 40. Or you can just go all out and get the omnibus, because I think it's definitely worth it. This is one worth having on your shelf.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say this, Dave. I probably should save it to the end, but I will say that preparing for this makes me want to go on a bit of a Bendis bender, because I realize.
Can we call this episode that? Our Bendis Bender.
Yeah. Let's do it. Because I think that there's so much Marvel history, key Marvel history in the 2000s, that he was the Jeff Johns of Marvels, right? I think that's fair to say.
Yeah. I think Jeff Johns was literally handling everything and steering everything, and Bendis was doing that for Marvel.
Yeah, and I want to read a lot more than I have, because, like I said, Alias, an incredible. You can say what you want about him, maybe not liking his stuff as time goes on, but man, when he was firing, that he was the man.
Yeah,
for sure.
Oh, completely.
Yeah. Kudos to him. That's the kudos to the Bendis Bender.
Kudos to him.
All right. Take it away, Dave.
Okay, I'm debating which to go with next, but I'm just going to stick with the Daredevil. So my Daredevil choice was the hardcore storyline from Daredevil 46 to 50. So this is pretty much halfway through the run, and it
looks like Spider-Man's coming out of the cover.
Oh god, it does,
doesn't
it? I was just going to get
rid
of it. There we go. Bugger off.
You got to put him up on your shoulder.
I need metal shoulders. He's got He's got metal. He's got magnets in his feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll get you a shirt with a little plate on it.
All right, done. Thank you. I'll have to become a cyborg just for that. But yeah, here we go. So this collects the same story arc of the initial story arc that Eric just put forward, which was, I think it was called Out when it was collected in trade paperback. The first storyline. But this one is like the fifth story arc in this, and it's called Hardcore. And it basically, the threads that were set up in Out are picked up in Hardcore. And it, as much as you think, like, because it's such a big punch for a beginning, isn't it? Like, it's a pretty major beginning in Out that you think, like, how's it, you can't top this. And to me, this was like, when you're reading this, that she's just going, no, seriously, we're doing this, and it's brilliant. And again, it's Maleev on the art, and he really makes this work. It's got that grit as he's fighting. There's fighting in the streets. I don't do the song. Oh, that's Dancing in the Street, isn't it? Wasn't it fighting in the it's Street Fighting Man I'm thinking of as well. But yeah, it's great, but also brings back recognizable faces like Bullseye and Typhoid. And it's like it's almost like a very short hush in that he's facing those familiar faces, and then it's like, okay, let's see the fallout of what's happened to our big bad from that first arc. So like it's great. It's a fantastic storyline. Again, I don't want to say too much about it because it does spoil Out if I say too much. But it's essentially, we could just do the 10 chapters, the 10 storylines from Daredevil This run is so good. I've reviewed every. I think I had the 3 trades that you showed the first one of just now, and they all got 5 stars. It all got 5 stars every time. All 3 of them.
It might be what I read next.
Right.
I've been waiting for my Spider-Man 2099 omnibus to come in now for a couple weeks, and it's really irritating because it's out of stock already. So I mean, I'd like to blame the people I ordered from or the corporation I ordered from, but I feel like Marvel should know you're releasing a movie featuring this character. You've never released this omnibus, and if you've got pre-orders, make sure you got enough to go out there.
Yeah.
Because I literally had it ready that the day that it would be delivered, I would crack the box open and read.
Yeah.
And it's not here.
I think the poor service from your book distributor is pretty amazing. That they're getting away with it.
Yeah. No pun intended there, right, Dave?
I'm intending that pun, Mo Flipper.
But having said all that, complaining about not getting my omnibus, I have plenty of Brian Michael Bendis Daredevil that I could read that will definitely be well worth my time.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I'm looking forward to it. So good call. And now because that's going to be the next story on the second volume. Like, I'll probably reread the first one to just jog my memory. I don't know about you. A book I read last year, I forget it the year later. I just remember that I loved it.
Yeah.
So
binging is the way. Binge on that Bendis Bender.
That's the one. I like that. Alliteration.
Thank you.
Beautiful. All right. So people are going to be watching this and they're going to be like, seriously, guys? Like, you couldn't be, you had to do this? But my second pick.
Is it from Daredevil?
No.
I'm wondering what you're going to choose. Worse.
Not worse. It's good, but it's like you're going back to that turning point. Going back to turning point. It's collected here. It's not part of the storyline, but it's issue 13, where Peter has the conversation with Mary Jane, and I'm a real sucker for the Spider-Man single issues where he has the conversation with a major person in his life, whether it's Aunt May, whether it's Mary Jane. More recent history was Jonah Jameson. There's just something with each conversation is going to be very difficult and very cathartic for different reasons. And it's kind of like the conversation you always just wish you would have. Like, just get it over with. Just tell him. And you don't have to do all of this. Like, you'll relieve yourself of so much stress, but then at the same time, like, you shouldn't have said anything because now they're involved, right? But early on in the Ultimate Spider-Man story, Peter's dating Mary Jane. There's no confusion about his, Gwen or this girlfriend, that girlfriend. It's Mary Jane, kind of like the way the Tobey Maguire movie was. But he tells her pretty quick in his career as Spider-Man exactly who he is, because he's just trying to do this the right way. He's not trying to be deceptive. He's not trying to disappoint, which he ultimately will, because he's Spider-Man. It's the Parker luck. But in this case, that's the one thing about the Ultimate Spider-Man book, that even in the darkest moments, there was that you had a little bit of joy with Peter. And after 2 pretty intense story arcs and major things happening in the character's life, which we all know, right? His uncle dies, faces off against his
uncle
villains.
dies.
Oh, sorry. Spoilers. I'm not sorry. But even with all of that, even with all that upheaval in his life, for him to have Mary Jane at this stage, or in this kind of era of Spider-Man storytelling, which is an era that includes email and internet and cell phones and things like that. Like, it's a little bit more up to speed with technology. Maybe not today, but back then it was current. So it was nice for him to have his high school sweetheart, his girlfriend, in on the secret and be supportive of him, and think it was just the greatest thing that he was willing to share a little bit of him. And again, like you said, the dialogue, right?
Yeah,
it's not dialogue. It's not the fact that he tells her. It's the way that they have the conversation. Yeah. And the way you feel at the end of it. So highly recommend your pick, because they'll get that story along with this as the capper.
Yeah, I was really close to mentioning it because, of course, it's like that first. Hang on, I can do this on my fingers. And that, like, I think the one I chose was a 5-parter. I think off the top of my head. But yes, that standalone story follows on, and I was nearly close to including it, but I'm glad that I didn't because it means we can talk about it separately. But it's what's really nice about it as well is that there's a logic to it. So I remember when that issue 13 was going to come out, there was I think there were questions raised about it as people who, no, you can't do that. Where he actually said, think about it. If you were a teenage boy who had powers, what would be the first thing you'd do? Who's the first person you try and impress?
That's the thing, right? Is that realistically, I think we would all want to tell somebody.
Yeah.
And especially if it's the girl you like and she likes you and you're gonna blow it, like you're taking a chance. But if she accepts that truth about you, like you're swinging through the city a lot different, right? You've got the weight off your shoulder is not there.
I don't even know how my brain kind of made that rude, but it did, and I can't explain it.
I did. I said it on purpose.
You did.
I do. Don't. I lob them to you. I just let me give this to Dave. He'll spike it right back to me.
Like, I'm gonna contain myself this time. No.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Do you think, however, as much as I love that issue and that aspect of Ultimate Spider-Man, Peter Parker, do you think Bendis relies a little too much on quote unquote outing these superheroes? Like he's kind of got a...
Yeah, I guess he has done it a few times now, hasn't he? With Superman,
Spider-Man,
Daredevil.
Yeah,
what
like
else
it's
can
kind
you
of...
do? Now, the thing is, I can't think of anyone else. But when you've written a lot of stories, some themes are going to come up again, I guess. Because I can't think of anyone else. Who else? Iceman. That's a slightly different thing, I'm a good bread, but thank you. A good point, well made.
Yeah. You got to mute him because he makes you crack way too much, and we almost lose it. we gotta mute him. Your face gets all red, and I said,
"Is my face red?"
I know it's not something I said. I know it's that chat. It's got him again.
Oh, I was literally taking it so literal, like an unmasking, and then went, "Oh no, wait, I remember now."
I'm sure there's another Marvel character that's just not coming to mind at this moment in time. We're not really, but he does it in major ways. Like they're major characters.
Yeah, they are.
Where
technically Hawkeye.
They're true.
Sort of.
But it's like those three that we mentioned, they're pretty major reveals. Like the three characters, like that's all they got. All they have is that sort of secret.
Yeah.
And when you it's the biggest complication to their life. So I guess that's what the fun is. It's the complication that it causes in the story. That may be a fun thing to write and sort through.
The thing is, I guess you could kind of say that, but like at some point, pretty much every character's been outed in some way. You know, someone's found out their identity or whatever. It's just, it happens. I think, like you say, it depends how it's done.
Yeah. And then, of course, the upsetting part is how do they put the genie back in the bottle? And I think that the way things were handled, maybe with Matt Murdock, was interesting.
I haven't seen that yet, so I don't know. I think I've read about it, but I've not read that story yet because it's during the Charles Soule run, right?
Not sure.
Okay.
I was referring more to Bendis and then into Brubaker, like during that Civil War.
Oh, okay.
That sort of time, but
yeah. Oh, okay.
Don't want to spoil that.
No, me either.
All right. Pick number 3.
Is it me?
It's you.
Oh shit. This is really hard because now I'm actually wanting to dip into some of my pre-prepared seconds. I'm not going to.
I'm
not
happy
going
I
to do
haven't
that.
stolen from you then.
Nope,
okay.
Not yet. But I am going to pick a story, one particular story from Alias, which we just mentioned. So this was Marvel's first mature readers in continuity series from their Max line from 2000s. And it introduced this series to introduce Jessica Jones, who's the detective or private detective that most people No, I would say at this point from the Netflix series, played by
Oh man, why is it escaping me now? I'll look it up.
do it, cheat. But yeah,
I'm on my phone, folks. Not ignoring Dave. Looking up the
it's
info.
fine.
Go ahead.
I have to type at people. It's Christian Ritter, which is rhyming slang. So basically, when you meet Jessica Jones, much as you do in the TV series, she's kind of, for want of a better word, quite broken. She's like, she drinks a lot. She's sort of struggling to maintain this role as a PI. She's pretty much off the rails, and you learn bits as you go along. But in the final story arc from this series, it's revealed the story arc's called Purple. I can't remember what issues they are. It's 24 to 28. And that's when we really delve into the Purple Man. So I think there's a two-parter where you find out what the Purple Man did, what role he played in her life. But this is where the Purple Man basically, this is like the series end finale multi-parter thing. So it's the Purple Man comes. So the Purple Man in the Netflix series was referred to by his real name because he's Jebediah Kilgrave. He's Kilgrave. In the series, he was called Kilgrave, I think. Played by the King of Nostrils, David Tennant. Look at those nostrils there. Look at them.
I'll never be able to watch him now without just staring at his nostrils.
Look at those nostrils. He does that a lot as Doctor Who. And like his nostrils get really big. And I can't watch it. Like, dude.
The King of Nostrils.
Yes, he's the Nostril King. All hail the Nostril King.
That's a good villain. Nostril King.
Nostril King, yeah. He could just suck you up.
But yeah, like I've only heard of this storyline and the series, and it's people sing its praises all the time.
Yeah.
And if the Netflix series is any like indication, I know it's not the same, but it was disturbing, very disturbing.
Yeah, the thing is, the Netflix series went soft, not in a good way. The Netflix series was a lot more tame compared to this. Yeah, this was a mature reader's storyline, and they didn't hold back. So, and I think it was way better. And what he does as well feels way more twisted. So when I was watching the Netflix series, I was kind of going, yeah, but it's not as warped as the Alias.
I mean, not as dark for me.
I like it a little darker,
more,
please.
Yeah.
A little sprinkling,
a little bit more warped
of blackened soul.
Yeah. Again, I had that omnibus on its way, and because I had it collected in trade and I hadn't touched it yet, I'm like, I should read it, see if I actually like it, which I'm sure I will. But it's nothing but the highest praise is what I've been told for it. So nice pick. I'm happy you mentioned it.
Thank you.
I wish I had read it so I could have been able to talk about it in more depth on this, but the appetite, I'm ready. The appetite is whetted.
Dude, go for it. So hang on, have you got the first book, did you say, but not the second?
For Jessica Jones?
Yeah. For Alias,
I've got the entire series.
You've got the entire series.
I got it, yeah, everything.
Yeah, you want to get on that.
Yeah.
Actually, weirdly, the follow-up series, Pulse, I quite liked it. But it was like a regular Marvel Universe thing, so it categorically put her into the mainstream Marvel Universe. And it made it like a standard book, so she can't swear, and she's all... It's all like those wibbly noise, the... Hashtag.
Right.
Just turn it into Clunk from the Stop the Pigeon cartoon.
You should do a whole episode.
You right, Jess?
Like that.
Yeah, I'm fed up with these bad guys.
You must do that for the daughters, right?
No, I've not done that in a long time. I have done it before, probably at some point, but not in a long time. So yeah, that was.
Next time you have to let out a couple of cuss words, just do that. Well, Daddy, what did you say?
I normally say, if I remember, I say cuss. Actually, say cuss. Like in Fantastic Mr. Fox, they go like, "You cussing with me? You cussing with me?" And he goes like, and they say cuss instead of a cuss word, and I just think it works really nicely. It's a really nice film, actually. You haven't seen it. Recommendation of the week.
Okay, all right, I'm gonna write it down. Fantastic Mr. Fox.
We are on the halfway mark, good sir. Shall we do an advert break?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let us know what's going on in the Omniverse.
Righty ho. Not calling you prostitute. So this weekend, the UK side of the Omniverse will be at UKCGF Comics and Gaming Festival. Well, you see, the CGF stands for Comic and Gaming Festival. Anyway, this Saturday in Brighton, where there's an awesome comic shop as well called Dave's Comics. Just to let you know, if people don't know, that's down there. It's not mine. When it's unaffiliated, but I used to basically visit that shop. I think I mentioned it in one episode. I used to go into that shop like 2 or 3 times a year, sometimes once a year, just to kind of go and buy a whole shitload of comics.
You should affiliate them because it's Dave's Comics. It only makes sense.
It does make sense. I should buy them with
yes,
all my riches. The Nostril King might buy it for me. So,
is this the third week in a row that you'll be conning?
Yes, I'm knackered. Oh! It's an arena, Brighton Amex Arena, this Saturday, the 7th, 8th, 10th of Brighton, June.
The Omniverse tabling there?
Yes, we will be at a stand again this time. We haven't been at a stand for the last 2. We were roaming on the last 2 cons, but this time we're going to be having a stand. So come and have a chat. If you live that way, if you don't, what are you doing in Brighton? Weird.
Go home.
Yeah, go home. You've got things to attend to. You've left the hob on. Ooh, risky move. So yeah, there's that. If you jump on the Omniverse Comics .guide website, there's the final arc of the IDW Transformers run, which is called Unicron. I am currently working on a Transformers IDW reading order. Bear with me. More bits coming, of course, all the time.
Nice.
And just also, don't forget to comment and share some of the stuff we do. Thank you for doing that. Thanks for supporting everyone who supports. It's brilliant. It's kind of weird, but it's cool. So yeah, thanks for sharing stuff and being really nice and sending us nice messages. Cheers. Love you very much. Oh, you guys. Big hugs.
Ditto. All right. We're talking about the Bendis Bender that we're on. So let us go then with Miles Morales, Spider-Man. Let's get into that universe. Of course, Brian Michael Bendis may become best known when it's all said and done for being the creator of Miles Morales, Spider-Man, which is a very big accomplishment for numerous reasons, but because he made it stick. And it didn't. We intend that pun. He made it stick. He made a legacy character of a beloved character that didn't really need to be. Well, in this universe, it needed to be replaced, but he did it in a way that just felt right, and we all fell in love with this Spider-Man. But what was really cool, amongst all the other storylines that follow the Peter Parker Ultimate Spider-Man, that story and universe continues with Ultimate Spider-Man Miles Morales. I forget the order of how it's told, but there is a easy way to end and continue. But what was really cool was when they did a crossover storyline where the 616 Spider-Man meets Miles Morales in a story that was 5 issues called Spider-Man, and it's got Mysterio involved. There's dimension hopping. You've got Spider-Man, basically what we kind of see in the first Spider-Verse movie, where the Peter Parker that we kind of know and are familiar with comes into a universe where what's nice about it, along with the team-ups and all of the different dialogue that you get, is the for Miles Morales, for him to actually talk to a full-fledged Spider-Man, someone who's lived the life, who's right, and for him to ultimately be mentored. And will he feel confident when it's all said and done? Like, you want people to read the story, but it's that sort of what Peter Parker kind of gets at certain points in his life. He's got a mantra, something that he can live by. And I think Miles Morales gets kind of the experience with this Peter becomes kind of like that touchstone for him. So I think later on they're in the same universe, of course, because Dave's favorite story, Secret Wars, brings everything together. and now Miles Morales is in the same universe in 616. I know that's confusing for people who don't know what we're talking about, but it's just like a designation.
Yeah, the mainstream Marvel universe is referred to as Earth 616.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've all read Captain Britain, where that was first revealed. But if you haven't, go read that, 'cause actually it's really good.
I didn't know that's where it was revealed. That's cool.
Yeah, it's a really weird place for it to have happened, right?
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, check out this book. Sarah Pacelli on the art, really cool.
Oh,
Jim
yeah.
Chung covers, and it's two Spider-Mans colliding with each of their villains, right? Their versions of those villains, and what it just seeing Peter in a world where not everybody, or sorry, everyone knows who Spider-Man was. It's a very
I
interesting
forgot about that
dynamic
bit.
for him to enter, right? So he shows up here and has to live in this world and encounter a young Mary Jane, and all that kind of fun dimension hopping stuff. So check it out. Especially, it'll go nicely with the experience, I think, of watching the Spider-Verse movies. It'll be a nice little touchstone.
Yeah, it kind of acts as a precursor as well, sorts to
Little bit.
Spider-Verse, the comic, if you've not read the
Yeah.
comic, because it is the first meeting of those two characters, so also benefits there.
Yeah, I'm sticking
Brian
close to
Michael
Spider-Man this
benefits.
time. There you go. All right, that's my number 3.
Okay.
A little bit of Miles Morales.
Milo Moralo. Okay, nice stuff. Liking it.
Or should I say his name properly? Should I?
No.
Miles Morales. I'll say it like that, just to be authentic.
That I got slightly aroused when you did that. I just need you to know. So either do it again or don't. But now that you know, I'll know that you know. Okay, so my number
Good thing I
4.
didn't sip.
I should have waited. My number 4. Oh no, I'm not going to do that one yet. Is Scarlet. But
See, this is what I was waiting for. I
you
was
gonna
waiting
pick
for you to
this?
talk. No,
Oh.
I've never read it, so I'm happy that you're picking like the broader Bendis work.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know anything about this, but they when he was at DC, Jinx World, who that his creator owned books, so Jinx World basically started. I guess it. So yeah, Jinx World is named after the series Jinx, which I think was one of his Eisner nominated titles when he was doing indie comics, and then it kind of continued through Powers, and then Powers jumped over to Marvel when he went exclusive to Marvel, and then all those comics are running through there. So basically, Jinx World is any Brian Bendis creator-owned stuff, but it comes under other comic companies depending on who he's working for. So currently, Jinx World stuff is being produced through Dark Horse because he's with Dark Horse at the moment. This was at a time when he was with DC. I think this is now available again in paperback. It's I think it's 10 issues, and now I can't remember if it's 10 or 12. But this is. I read the first issue. Now, when I read a first issue of a series, on average, it will score an average for me, which is why I don't review single issues, because it's kind of pointless. Review a story arc, review a book, collected edition. The first issue got 5 stars from me when I was going through. I loved it straight away. But yeah, Alex Maleev and Brian Bendis team up, and this is a series very much about rebellion, not taking any crap, questioning what you're told, all the stuff that I like. I like
Sounds
that.
like something I would like.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man. And it's kind of got that kind of crime feel to it. But there's a great female protagonist as well. I think it was due to continue in like a season 2 type book. But so far there's been nothing. But it still works as a standalone book. But you
Is it still available?
this version, you're probably going to be looking at a lot of cash, but I think the paperback has now been re-released from Dark Horse, but I'd have to check. But by all means, look it up. Scarlet, Brian Michael Bendis. If you like his old school crime stuff, it veers back towards that direction. Back towards the days when he was writing. Oh, what was it? Yeah, that was Jinx. So Jinx World is named after the character Jinx. And it was a female-led series. And I was going to put it on the list tonight, but I can't remember it clearly enough because I haven't read it in 2 decades, if not more. But Jinx I thought was brilliant, but I just can't remember.
I haven't ventured into his Jinx World stuff. Never read Powers, Jinx, and what was the other one? There's another one, something America.
Murder Inc. or
Murder
United
Inc.
States of Murder, or yeah. There's a couple
Yeah,
I
I
haven't
think
read
that
either,
one.
but yeah. There's a few. Apparently, the paperback for Scarlet is available, so you don't need to shell out necessarily a fortune. But this is a lovely book. Nice thick pages. Ooh, you could roll around on it.
That's so. Is
I
that the
wouldn't.
absolute?
Yeah, this is the absolute.
Okay.
Absolute Jinx. Yes. So yeah, it's. I don't want to reveal too much. I think it's one of those things that works better when you go in blind. I've seen some people go like, "Oh, shit," but each their own. We're here to recommend books we think we like. If you read it and you're not sure, then that's up to you. But I personally absolutely loved it and gave the whole series maximum scores.
I just bought it as you sold it to
Holy
me.
crap! I hope you like it.
It's, you know what? It's the Dark Horse version.
Cool.
It's a good deal, and it's got series 1 and 2 included in it.
Thanks, dude. I
I'll
appreciate
let you.
that.
There you go. Well, that's the point of this, right? It's
Yeah.
that recommendation and excitement to find something new that either you're thinking of reading or you've never heard anyone describe it to you. So I appreciate the sales pitch.
Oh, no
if you will.
worries.
All right. My number 4. All right. I'm going to go with one. I don't know how this is received across the comic book fandom world, because I think post AVX is when people start to be hit or miss with Bendis' stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I began reading a lot of Marvel at that time. So I gave All New X-Men a shot.
Ooh, controversial.
Stuart Immonen on art with
Stuart
David
Immonen
Marquez.
so much.
Yeah, just for the art itself, it's a treat. But I'm a sucker for time travel. I love the X-Men for the fact that there's a lot of time travel shenanigans that don't make sense in their storylines.
Yeah.
This is one of them. Essentially, post Avengers vs. X-Men, the team is once again fractured, split in 2 different ideologies. Some classic heroes are siding with villains, becoming somewhat of extremists. We're talking Cyclops here. So the premise of the story, and that's not necessarily a spoiler, the premise of this whole series is that the original X-Men, the original 5, come into the modern era based upon what one of the current X-Men says, I wish a young Cyclops could encounter the current Cyclops and just slap himself in the face because he would hate who he becomes.
Yeah.
And from there, a series is launched.
Essentially,
and it's cool. Yeah, it's cool to take them, these classic characters who we followed all this time as fish out of water, and something as simple as seeing the school that they helped basically establish as the first students. What happened? Mm-hmm. What the heck happened to the dream?
Yeah.
And that's whether people are like the series or not, or some of the plot holes that might be involved in it and maybe gets too big. But for me, I did enjoy it. It kept me turning the page, and I just like the idea of being able to confront your older self or your younger self and kind of having a heart-to-heart or a soul check, right? You check, like, you don't understand. Wait till you live out life, and it's like, I'll never become you. Like that soul searching moment is just a ton of fun, right? It's an old trope that works. It worked for me.
Yeah, no, dude, you know what? There was a lot of whinging about this, and actually, I think it was it when Matt Fraction left the book and Bendis jumped on? I think it was that way round. I think I could be wrong, but I'm fairly sure it was this way around. And Matt Fraction said to Brian Bendis, "They hate you when you're on the X books. They love you when you leave." But
it's true.
I really like the Bendis run. I know a lot of people slate it. I don't really get why, because I thought it was so much fun, and plus you had Stuart Immonen on doing the artwork on one series. On Uncanny you had Chris Bachalo, that was a great period to me, and I don't really know why people were so down on it.
Yeah, I don't know myself either. Again, I was new to. I had read all of Spider-Man from Bendis, so it wasn't like I didn't know what he was capable of. So I'm like, this is the guy who did all this good stuff for so long, and his name is just every time it's brought up, there's like, the Avengers, and then this
Yeah,
series, and then Daredevil and Alien. It's like, what could be so bad? And I mean, like you said, I think that the Matt Fraction quote is accurate.
yeah,
And people made it seem like, wow, it wasn't X-Men weren't good until Jonathan Hickman brought it back
I
and
just totally disagree.
did his whole. But I think that this was a good run, especially picking up the pieces of where a major event leaves you. I feel like the value of an event is
The fallout.
the fallout. Thank you. Yeah, it's what you do with it afterwards.
Yeah.
And I felt that the X-Men stuff was interesting. It was
Yeah,
really interesting to see people, and even a character like, let's say, Wolverine, who him and Cyclops always have that sort of friction.
yeah,
That frenemy, that friendly friction. I want to kill you, but I'll die for you.
yeah,
At the end of the day, for him to confront the kid version of him, it's like, oh, the things that the life that we're gonna have that you don't even know about. And then, if memory serves, spoilers, some of these characters stick around.
yeah. I haven't actually, so I'm putting a reading order together for this, of course, because I'm gonna redo the X-Men reading order I started on the Marvel Comics Guide a while back.
Yeah.
Because they do eventually have to return, or else they become a divergent version of them or whatever.
Yeah.
But they do return, I believe. So I'm going to have to look into that. But I don't know. I've never read it because it's post-Secret Wars. They stuck around for a long time. I thought it was going to be for like 12 issues, but it starts to really diverge and branch out. And some of them don't stick around with the main group. And it's like, okay. So it's an interesting period.
And I think that's what could be people's hangups with stuff is like Bendis has been blamed for like setting up really, really cool things, and like the payoff is not quite as spectacular. Like the landing he doesn't always stick the landing with what his big idea is. But again, this is a good place to start. I think we've given people so far really good spots to begin reading each of these series to what, like, it'll be worth the ride. Start here, or in between this story, it'll still be good.
Yes.
Right. So just choose this.
Yeah.
But it's all new X-Men.
All new
X-Men.
No, it's
not
good
the
shout.
Uncanny. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good shout. I like both. But yeah.
Okay.
I will put a reading order together.
I'm wondering when they'll collect this. I'm surprised they haven't put it in an omnibus.
I was expecting an omnibus for ages, and of course, like it came out around the same time as well as the Jason Aaron Wolverine in the X-Men series, and I thought when they released that as an omni, I thought like, oh, because they've done that twice now. That's come out as an omnibus, the Aaron run, and I thought they're going to release like the Bendis stuff that goes alongside it. Surely, even like the Kieran Gillen issues that go alongside it. Nope, nothing.
I guess there's no movie. I guess there's no movie to sell it with.
I don't think it's all that anymore, because if they can do Knights of Pendragon and there was no film related tie into that at all, and it was super obscure, they can do pretty much anything. But I don't think the rule necessarily applies, because I don't know if there's really a payoff in that way. But it's X-Men. I don't understand why they struggle so much to. I mean, like this tomorrow, I think my Uncanny X-Men Volume 5 is coming out, and it's taken. What, 15 plus years to complete 5 volumes of Uncanny X-Men? Like, why do they struggle to release the X-Men? It's like the biggest selling title.
It'll always
it's weird
always
to me.
Be sold. Yeah.
So it's frustrating, and I started to get a bit annoyed there. Did you notice that? I started to get a bit annoyed.
A little bit.
I think they've also announced the X Factor omnibus as well.
I didn't see that. Which
unless I imagined it, maybe I dreamt that. I'm not going to say anything. I'll double check that. I was fairly sure they did, but that was, I had a little rant that other time. Like, they've missed those issues now. We've got to buy tons. They have included some other bits that weren't included. So, but you're still buying about half the book is collected in other stuff though. So, Marvel. So my final choice tonight is Torso, which essentially is a sequel to The Untouchables. But it's I forgot his name. Elliot Ness. Yes, Elliot Ness.
Okay, I was gonna say that the Untouchables with like Elliot Ness and going after
the first serial killer,
Prohibition
basically. So he's done the Prohibition thing, and this is him going after America's first serial killer. It's co-written by Mark Andreyko. The art is by Brian Michael Bendis, as back in the early days, all the art was by Brian Michael Bendis. So
How is the art?
It's not
I don't
too
know
bad.
if I've ever seen Brian Michael Bendis art.
It's got an indie vibe to it because it was an indie book. I mean, I can't remember if this was first produced by Image, or if it was like collected by Image from an ongoing indie. I can't remember. I'd have to double check that. I do have it listed somewhere on a spreadsheet, but yeah, his so he drew Fire first of all, which wasn't, that was like his first comic he ever drew, and then that was followed, I think, by Goldfish, which was okay. And the character Goldfish then appears in Jinx, and his art just gradually, kind of gets better as he works through. And then this, I think, Torso came out after Jinx, but it's not connected. It's a old school crime thing. And this is the thing. This was Eisner, won an Eisner in 1999, and 1999, the year before Ultimate Spider-Man. So this is probably the book that launched his mainstream career ultimately, because he went from this to Powers. And
could I see the inside? I don't know if you showed it already.
No, sorry, that's a good point. I didn't. Why didn't I think of that? I'm trying to do it so I can see what I'm showing you.
I'm getting old. I got to put the glasses on to make sure I can see.
Okay, put your very vocals on.
Yeah, got it.
You got it. Oh shit, I'm losing
good.
pages.
I'm good.
Yeah,
it's okay.
So yeah,
we're good.
Black and white. Bendis art. Mark Andreyko, who I'm trying to think what else he's known for. I can only think of Manhunter.
Did he do Moon Knight?
Supergirl.
Yeah,
he may have. I don't know. I'd have to double check. I've gone blank. But yes,
I've seen his name everywhere. I think maybe even
he does a lot
I
for
don't want to
DC.
say it. Yeah, I was gonna say Green Arrow, but I didn't want to misspeak.
Could be right. I just can't remember.
Someone will tell
right
us
now. Someone will. He may have. I don't know. I'd have to double check. I've gone blank. But yes,
I've seen his name everywhere. I think maybe even
he does a lot
I
for
don't want
DC.
to say it. Yeah, I was gonna say Green Arrow, but I didn't want to misspeak.
Could be right. I just can't remember.
Someone will tell
right
us
now. Someone will.
pick.
So yeah, it's a crime story, and it gets a bit weird at the end, but it's still really great.
Cool, very cool.
Thank you.
I like that you brought it right back to the beginning.
Yeah.
That's proper.
Yeah.
Well,
Totally planned. What do you got?
Do you know what I'm gonna? It's heavy.
So
you got.
It's an
you must
Omni.
have an idea. Yeah.
Is it? No, I don't know.
Guess. Take a guess.
Not New Avengers. Did you get the New Avengers omnibus, or is it Secret Invasion?
I got the New Avengers. This is one of my first omnibuses, actually. Shout out to my lady Jay, my wife. She brought it all the way home from downtown in the city. I said, she went into the bookstore that I really, really like, and she said, is there anything there on the shelf that you want while I'm here? Like, very nice of her to do that, because she's not the type to go comic shopping on her own. She'll do it for me. I said, ooh, see the biggest book that they got on the shelf? She's like, you mean that heavy thing? I said, that price for it it's a steal. It's very much worth getting that. So she brought it all the way home for me. I've read most of it, but I wasn't into reading Omnis yet at the time. So I got it more for the fact that it had so much to offer at such a key moment in Marvel history, and it's good stuff. So there's a few stories you can pick if you do get this omnibus, which I wish that they would continue collecting. It's always been left at volume 1. I wasn't sure how many, or if you were going to pick New Avengers, because I know that you speak highly of this era. So I guess I could say the whole omnibus, since it's the last pick.
Cheap.
You could be, you could, but I was going to pick Avengers Disassembled because it's where, it's the ground floor. It's a pretty classic storyline at this point in time of a turning point where we've spoken about it ad nauseum on numerous podcast episodes between Cave of Solitude as well as the Omniverse now, where we love Kurt Busiek, right? We like his stuff.
Yes.
I love his Avengers. This strays away from that sort of era very clearly. It's definitely the beginning of a new era. So whatever was built with the hero's return, and then for that little brief moment where Jeff Johns was writing Avengers, which I quite liked,
And then Chuck Austin. Ooh.
when no one remembers.
Nope.
But now you get into Bendis really spreading his wings and doing all kinds of new and interesting things with the Avengers for a whole new era. And the Avengers Disassembled storyline, I think it's safe to say Brian Michael Bendis has a soft spot for using Wanda Maximoff as a key storytelling, what's the right word? Not plot, but a
MacGuffin.
A MacGuffin trope, the Deus Ex Machina of his story. I don't know if that's the right term. I've heard that reference before. Yeah. But the Avengers as you know it disassemble and then relaunched, I think, in a proper way. And it's a great jumping on point for people who, one, the artwork is beautiful. You got David Finch and just a slew of heavy-hitting artists, right? It's a real visual treat,
Frank
these
Cho.
books.
They had a whole series of different artists on the Civil War tie-ins.
Yeah, you
Jim
got
Chung.
Bendis, you got Finch, McNiven, Cho, Diodato, Liniel Yu, Coipel, Malieve.
Oh. It's the
Jim
superstar
Chung.
list. It's basically the list of comic stars from that era.
Yeah,
But the kind of tipping point going from quite
the cover.
big
It
to
is
huge.
it's a heavy. It's a big boy. But if those looking at just the names and the credits,
yeah,
you see Silvestri's there.
Oh, Pascal Ferry, Oh, yeah.
There you go. So
yeah, wow, it's a beauty.
Get disassembled. Start there. You're off to the races.
It's very much a palate cleanser and a means to an end. It's pure blockbuster, shamelessly so. The only thing that I wasn't a fan of with that was the Hawkeye moment, which I think I mentioned last week.
You did mention that.
Yeah,
you did.
But that gets sorted in its own way,
right? And again, another touchstone moment for, I said that a lot. I should have a drink every time I say that this episode. Things are put into place that also affect people's movie-going experience. Certain characters throughout this run are used and featured in like Spider-Man being an Avenger. Yeah. I think this is the first time he's official.
Yeah, officially.
On the team.
He was a reserve member from around about issue 329, 330.
And I think this series makes the Avengers the flagship book for Marvel.
For the first time since
this series, and the success of this series and the storylines that come out in and out of it make the Avengers the team to build a movies franchise around.
So I think the Avengers weren't flagship since the 70s, really.
Yeah, but would you ever say that they were the flagship title? Like, I feel like in this case, they surpassed Spider-Man. Like, I always feel Marvel is very much like Amazing Spider-Man's the book. That's their Batman, if you will. But with the Avengers, it took it to another level where every event, every moment that changes or shifts the timeline, it comes through what the Avengers are doing. Even to the end of Secret Wars, right? Like, this is what sets that
very
emotion.
much so, yeah.
If you don't know where to start with Avengers, I would always say, go back to the classic and make it like real comic book fun. But this is probably the easiest entry. This is probably the easiest entry level where you'll be like, I'm in.
This is the shameless blockbuster. If you've been drawn in by shameless blockbusters from the actual cinema, this is the equivalent.
Yeah, you'll be happy. You'll be definitely entertained for sure.
Yeah. I will say this one thing before we move on from that, was the run I was going to go for from New Avengers was actually I can't remember the issue numbers now. It's 40 to like 47 of New Avengers, which were the Secret Invasion tie-ins. Because actually, as much fun as Secret Invasion was, if most people will probably read it on its own. but you need to read Secret Invasion with those tie-in issues. And actually, you shouldn't read Secret Invasion until you've read Avengers Disassembled all the way up, including Civil War, because the payoffs in there all hark back.
Yeah, this goes up to issue 31. Like, they really need to make a second volume.
They need to just re-release it and then release volume 2. Because
it almost makes you not want to have volume 1 at this point. Like, what's the point? I'm not going to get the whole set.
That's what I did. I sold it, and then now I've got the paperback complete collection version. But it bugs me because it's like I had the hardcovers.
Yeah. Is the Secret Invasion omnibus available still, or is it coming out? I gotta check that out.
It came out a couple of years ago, so you just don't know. You don't know. It's impossible to say if you can still buy anything at this point because you might just get lucky.
True.
You know,
it's true.
Just try. But I think I've had a few people say to me, "Why don't mention books that are out of print?" I'm like, but you know, I've picked up books that are out of print for a decent price. You've just got to get on it. If you really want it, keep plugging and you'll find it. But also, there is the digital option. You've got unlimited, and you've got, you know, there are plenty of other ways. So even though we're recommending buy book because we're giving you a story arc most of the time.
Right.
So that's the thinking. So if you're struggling to find them, sorry, but you should have got there quicker. Anyway, as tempting as it might be to go like, I'm just going to read Secret Invasion 1 to 8 before the new series launches on Disney Plus. Don't read Disassembled upwards because it pays off. I think when you read it, you are looking back at all the beats from House of M, Civil War, Disassembled, all that stuff. That's exactly it. It's all those posts. But if you haven't read them, they don't have as much impact. There is a Secret Invasion reading order on the omniversecomics.guide site. Go read it, but for the most part, it is telling you on there from whoever put that together
Weirdo.
that it's freak. But it's Secret Invasion and then New Avengers and Mighty Avengers, and it shows what order to read them in because all those reveals come in at certain moments. So it makes sense to read it in that order. If you don't and you just want to read the 8-issue series, go for your life. I'm not going to stop you. But it pays off to do it more the other way. This is all Mr. Bread. And the last question from himself suggestion was Sam and Twitch as a Brian Michael Bendis series. And that's a really good shout. But I've only read half of it. And I've been desperate for them to re-release it. And McFarlane, you need to re-release it. I know you're listening. I know you're a big fan of the show.
Absolutely. Don't deny it. Brian Michael Bendis is a fan of the show too. He might listen to this.
He's commenting already. Look. So hi guys, please let me be on your show. We'll see, Brian. I mean,
see if we've
got some other people lined up, but we'll see what we can do, mate. All right.
All right. Thank you again. Always a pleasure, my friend, to talk shop and remind me why I love this stuff and all the stuff that I have to read.
Likewise,
this was a good little exercise. All right, everybody. Till next time, we've got more interviews coming up. We've got more top 10s and all the like. Is it an incoming next week?
Next week will be an incoming episode.
Thank you for listening. Come back for more. Dave, love you, buddy. We'll be back soon.
You too, man.
Ciao for now. All right. Bye, everybody.
Peace.